Have you ever asked yourself, what is the purpose for life? I want to put this to you. What is the reason for life? If not to master yourself, serve others at the highest level, and experience life not in lack, but experience life abundantly. When you master yourself and serve others at the highest level, you are literally and figuratively knocking on the doors of heaven. And when those doors open, and believe me, they will open, you will begin to experience personal growth and professional development. You will experience quality in relationships. You will experience real influence. And you will also experience happiness, health, and wealth, including financial wealth. But hear this carefully: you cannot master what you do not know. So you owe it to yourself to commit the time, talent, and resources to master your sense of self, master your sense of purpose, and master your sense of direction, because this is one of the purpose and reason for your existence. Secondly, you cannot serve at the highest level with what you do not have. So, what you need to have is the ability to leverage your gifting at the highest level. Now, to help you master yourself, serve others at the highest level, and to build wealth, I now introduce my book titled Pathways of Influence: Timeless Processes to Build Wealth. Now, this book stands on a number of pillars, but let me begin by examining the title of this book, Pathways of Influence. Now, there are four important pathways that you need to commit the time, talent, and resources to truly understand. This is something that you need to listen to, learn to apply, apply to master, and leverage this body of knowledge to embrace wealth across all areas of your life. Now, let's begin by examining pathway. Pathway one is what we call the first degree of influence. Now, the first degree of influence is influence over your personal life. And this is exactly where you're committing the time, talent, and resources to learn who you are, and then to master your sense of self, to master your sense of purpose, and to master your sense of direction. Now, my book, Pathways of Influence, we go deep into this body of knowledge, and it literally gives you the step by step that you can use to exercise superior control over your life. Now, in this book, the second pathway that you will begin to take away is what we call the second degree of influence. Now, the second degree of influence is your ability to influence relationships, your ability to influence social environment. And here is where you have to commit that time, talent, and resources to master the art of building and leveraging quality relations. In this context, you can begin to look at mentorship program, coaching programs, sponsorship programs, and supportive communities that are all designed to help you realize what we call the predictable results, and that's in fostering healthy relationship. You see, pathways of influence really helps you to develop influence in these areas, and you need it. All right. When you want to master yourself and master life, you need to commit the time, talent, and resources to truly learn, apply, and master this body of knowledge. The third degree of influence is where we talk about pathway three, is what we call the third degree of influence. And this is influence over the family. Now, I can't emphasize this enough. The family is exceptional, the family is sacred, the family is everything. But if you don't commit the time, talent, and resources to have your family life master plan, you're likely to have just an average family. You see, many persons you're living your life, and you may ask yourself, why can't you be exceptional? Well, the reason you can't be exceptional is largely because you never commit the time, talent, and resources to understand pathway three, the third degree of influence, and that's how to influence desired outcome in the family. So you see, influence is something for you to use effectively to achieve desired outcome in your life. You see, when you apply influence in the right way, when you understand pathway three, it helps you to exercise influence over the family. So you can predetermine the quality of life that you want for the family. And because you are able to predetermine, you're able to develop the strategic plans to achieve that what is predetermined in order to get the high rewards, the measurable results, the predictable outcome with the highest degree of accuracy. And that's what this book is going to set you up to accomplish. Now there's pathway four, and what pathway four will do, it will help you to understand the fourth degree of influence. Now, the fourth degree of influence is influence over your professional life. And here is where you have to ask yourself how far you want to go in your profession. You see, some people are quite comfortable in leveraging their profession to gain influence locally. Others are not. So they may push their influence to get influence nationally. Some may push to get influence regionally with their profession, and some may push to get influence internationally in their profession. Now, pathways of influence, timeless processes to build wealth, will give you the step by step and will also be showing you from practical experiences of others and what we are using to help our community to accomplish this. In fact, we have built out platform, internationally recognized and awarded platforms that has, in less than a year, attracted over 116,000 persons in the community. We are reaching over 50 countries, and we are set to grow this platform to over 1 million in a short period of time. So, pathways of influence really shows you how to identify who you are, position yourself to master your sense of self, position yourself to master your sense of purpose, position yourself to master your sense of direction. So you know now that you are the person who is influencing a desired outcome in your life. Now, there's a couple of things that I want to say here. Pathways of influence is built on the foundation of knowing what we call the KUAM, that equals wisdom. Yes, it's a new term that we have coined, but what KUAM stands for is the K is knowledge. So the knowledge exists to master your sense of self. The knowledge exists to master your sense of purpose. The knowledge exists to master your sense of direction. The knowledge exists to build wealth, including financial wealth. But it's important that you acknowledge that the knowledge exists. And that knowledge exists whether you know it or not, whether you believe it or not, whether you accept it or not, or whether you live in it or not. The knowledge to accomplish those things exist. So this is where the you comes in now. You need to commit the time, talent, and resources to understand the knowledge that exists. Because it is only when you have that understanding you can come to the A, which is applying this body of knowledge. Now, when you apply the body of knowledge, something unique happens. You get to that point where you become a master at executing on that particular thought process. So, whether you're executing on a process to master your sense of self, you're executing on a process to master your sense of purpose, you're executing on a purpose to master your sense of direction, or you're executing on a process to build wealth, because you have built consistency in executing in a process to achieve predictable end results, you now master that concept. And because you have now repeat this process multiple times, you have now mastered this process, you have now acquired the W. We call it the wisdom in applying the body of knowledge. So what I'm saying here, everything that we are talking about in pathways of influence, the first degree of influence, influence over your personal life, the second degree of influence, influence over your social life, the third degree of influence, influence over your family life, and the fourth degree of influence, influence over your profession. The knowledge to exercise influence over these four pathways and these four degree of influence exist. And in my book, Pathways of Influence, we expose you to a large part of this body of knowledge. All right. I must pause here a little bit to acknowledge Vision Valley University and Global Capital Inc. for embarking on this initiative to really help people to gain a greater sense of self, a greater sense of purpose, and a greater sense of direction. Now, why is this important? We have learned that people can never grow beyond their sense of self. And again, this is where the pathway one looks at the first degree of influence, and this is influence over your personal life. If you do not come to that point to acknowledge that you want to be the captain of your ship, you ought to be the pilot of your plane, you want to be anchored in purpose and anchor in your destiny, this body of knowledge is what's going to bring you to that point to quickly recognize that you have to take ownership and how to take ownership to accomplish all that we have said above. What is the reason for life? It's to master your sense of self, to serve others at the highest level, and to experience not in lack, but to experience life abundantly. So let me move on now. Pathways of influence must be guided by the fruits of visionary leaders. So we're bringing in something else here. Now, as you apply yourself with the first, second, third, and fourth degree of influence, pathway 1, 2, 3, and 4, that entire process must be guided by the fruits of visionary leaders. So when you are taking the time to truly understand pathway one, the first degree of influence, and how to leverage influence to exercise control over your personal life, you need to understand the fruits of visionary leaders. So, what are the fruits of visionary leaders? Vision. So, you want to apply vision to your personal life. So, what is vision? Vision is the ability to think ahead. Vision is the ability to see beyond problem. Vision is the ability to take informed action to achieve a desired end results. But vision is more than this. Vision is knowing what you want, but knowing what you want must equal knowing what you have to leverage to get what you want. So we have a deep body of knowledge to go into here to bring you to that point to exercise mastery over your life. You must be able to apply the fruits of visionary leaders to these four pathways or the 4 degrees of influence that you're looking for. Then there's wisdom. Can you apply wisdom to your personal life? You need to be able to apply wisdom because, very often you find that people have vision, but vision divorced from wisdom can cause you to self sabotage. So you need wisdom. In this book, Pathways of Influence, we go deep into what wisdom is. You see, wisdom is applied knowledge that produces targeted and predictable results. We're going to go deep into this body of knowledge and we're going to really decode this message that will give you a tremendous competitive advantage in the steps that you can take to apply vision, wisdom, resources, processes, leadership abilities, and systems to the 4 pathways that you need to learn, apply, and master, to the 4 degree of influence that you need to learn, apply, and master. So this is relevant whether you want to start and scale a business. This is relevant whether you want to build a mega ministry. This is relevant to you in politics. This is relevant to you in living and leading your life. This type of information is going to literally transform the landscape of how you see life, how you apply yourself, and how you position yourself to truly experience life abundantly. Now, there's a few more things that I want to say in conclusion. Visionary leaders is the embodiment of understanding, applying, and mastering the fruits of visionary leaders. So, any attempt to position yourself to be a visionary leader who's exercising vision over your personal life, who's exercising vision over your social life, who's exercising vision over your family life, who's exercising vision over your family life, you must understand that visionary leaders or visionary leadership is the embodiment of understanding, applying, mastery of the fruits of visionary leaders. You must commit the time, the talent, and the resources to understand vision at a deeper level, to understand wisdom at a deeper level, to understand resources at a deeper level, to understand processes at a deeper level, to understand leadership ability at a deeper level, and to understand systems at a deeper level. So, Pathways of Influence, Timeless Processes to Build Wealth is not the average book. It may be for the average person who wants to become an exceptional person, but it's not an average book. Because this book will really help you to become so anchored in your sense of self, so anchored in your sense of purpose, so anchored in your sense of direction that you're going to become a game changer, a dream maker, a trendsetter. You will stand out as a different maker in business, in your ministry, in politics, and in life. Now, the icing on the cake is that the subtitle of this book speaks about timeless processes to build wealth. And I want to talk a little bit about the timeless processes to build wealth because this subtitle is built on the foundation of understanding, applying, and mastering 2 important concepts. Concept 1 is what we call the wealth IQ. Concept 2 is what we call the wealth EQ. Now, you need to understand these 2 platforms. that is used as a springboard to position yourself to build wealth biblically and to build wealth secularly. Now, let's touch this a little bit. As you begin to position yourself to truly understand what is the wealth IQ, you will understand capital markets from four different perspectives. One is to understand that capital markets exist. So within capital markets, you will begin to understand what is debt capital market, what is equity, credit, creative finance, and hard money lending, what is group economics, and so much more. We will work with you for you to get a clear mental picture of what this is. Now, once you understand this, it's not enough for you to understand this. It's equally important for you to know how to apply this body of knowledge to get access to. The beauty in working with us at Global Capital Inc., the Vision Valley University, and our international partners is that we know exactly what to do to get you access to capital within the shortest possible time, because we have established relationships with multiple financial institutions. And it doesn't matter where you are in the United States and 50 states, we're going to get you access to capital. Now, access is important, but you must also commit the time, talent, and resources to learn how to leverage capital. So in the wealth IQ, you need to understand how the portfolio, how to access and how to leverage, and why understanding how to leverage is so important. You see, many rising stars in business and ministries and politics and in life, sometimes you go into debt. And instead of leveraging that debt to become a positive income producing asset, you leverage the debt as a liability. And you become saddled with that debt as a liability for a long, long, long time. So when you understand how to leverage capital, it sets you up to be more successful, more strategic, and experience the abundance of life more abundantly because you have wisdom. And what is wisdom? Wisdom is applied knowledge that produces targeted and predictable results. Wisdom gives you the high reward, the measurable results, the predictable outcome with the highest degree of accuracy. Are you able to apply the fruits of visionary leader as you apply the wealth IQ? The last part here on the wealth IQ is the capital mitigation. You see, when you buy a debt or take a debt, that debt is subject to principal, it is subject to interest, it is subject to tax, and it is subject to insurance. Whether it is expressed loudly or silently, most debt is subject to the PITI. So you must have a game plan to mitigate this process. And I'm just going to drop a hint here. Very often, those with limited experience on capital markets, you look at the debt and you may say, hey, the cost of capital is high. The cost of capital may be high, but guess what is magical when you understand how to mitigate debt? When you know how to leverage that capital as a positive income producing asset that it can generate way above the PITI, principal and interest, tax, and insurance, it opens up a tremendous window for massive surplus or profits because you know how to mitigate this process. So the wealth IQ, we go deep into this body of knowledge to position you to win. And this is where the book Pathways of Influence, Timeless Processes to Build Wealth comes in. You're going to be walking away with so much of wisdom that I promise you, your life will never be the same again. Along with this, Pathways of Influence, Timeless Processes to Build Wealth is one of the manuals that we are using at Vision Valley University. You will not leave that university unless you know what vision is and how to apply vision to every aspect of your life. You must be able to apply vision to pathway one, the first degree of influence over yourself, your life, your personal life. Can you apply vision here? You want to apply vision to your social life, pathway two. You want to apply vision to your family life, pathway three, third degree of influence. You want to apply vision to your professional life, pathway four, the fourth degree of influence. Vision must be applied. So, Vision Valley again is not an average name. It's a name that has been developed with a strategic insight and vision in mind. Vision Valley University. You want to learn what vision is? You want to know how to apply vision, how to master vision, and how to become at that point where you have wisdom as you apply vision? Join us at Vision Valley. The last concept that I'm going to be talking about today is wealth EQ. Now, wealth EQ is very important. All right. Wealth EQ is very important. The book Pathways of Influence, Timeless Processes to Build Wealth takes you on a journey to also understand wealth EQ. And wealth EQ is important. And this has so many levels of depth to it that you really owe it to yourself to commit that time, talent, and resources to really learn, apply, and master these concepts. And let me go briefly here at this. Wealth IQ really helps you to understand that when you're blessed, how to leverage your blessings to be a blessing to others. Now, I want you to pause here because if you listen with your own preconceived notion, you can miss the message here. All right? You're blessed to be a blessing. But hear this point here. You see, many persons, as you think about being a blessing to others, very often you have a negative connotation of being a blessing to others. And that negative connotation is what's going to undermine and unravel all of the good steps that you have taken to position yourself to be blessed. You see, there is tremendous blessings in being a blessing. And when you take away being a blessing from your blessing, you're undermining your chances to experience life abundantly. We're going to go deep into this body of knowledge. All right. So you have a clear mental picture of what is wealth EQ and how to apply wealth EQ in business and ministry, in politics, and in your personal life. This is an exceptional body of knowledge that we have spent years researching and studying and applying, and now we want to make this body of knowledge available to you. So let me recap in terms of what we looked at today. I started today's program by asking the question, what is the reason for life? And I concluded by saying that what is the reason for life if not to master yourself, serve others at the highest level, and experience life not in lack, but experience life in abundance? So immediately you have three reasons for life: master yourself, serve others at the highest level, and experience life abundantly. But guess what? If you don't understand the foundation that I laid here to master self, serve at the highest level, and experience life abundantly, you may understand the reason for your life, but you may never ever be able to experience it because the foundation, you don't understand it. Now, the foundation to live life to the fullest lies in the fruits of visionary leaders. The foundation to living life to the fullest means that you must also understand pathway 1, 2, 3, and 4. The first, second, third, and fourth degree of influence, and how to align the fruits of visionary leaders to each of these pathways, to each of these degrees of influence, in order to bring yourself to that point to experience life abundantly. So these are some of the things that we covered in today's lesson. We also introduced you to the concept that we call the KUAM, that equals W, wisdom. Knowledge exists. You want to understand it. You don't want to understand for the sake of understanding. You must put yourself in a position of strength to apply that body of knowledge, because if you don't apply that body of knowledge, you will not experience your superpower. Now, you apply it and you master. And you master that body of knowledge, doors begins to open. When you apply the fruits of visionary leaders. So these are some of the concepts that we have covered in today's lesson. I want to encourage you to, once you find the content interesting, to like, subscribe, and share. Look back at this content, this message, several times, so you can now begin to get a deeper understanding of what the message is. So you can learn it, you can apply it, you can master it, and you can position yourself to experience the fruits of this message. My name is Gary Thompson. It has been a pleasure being with you today, and I look forward to being with you in the next broadcast. Be blessed and see you soon. Remember to like, subscribe, and share.